What if I told you a single signature from Donald Trump just triggered the biggest copper crisis in North American history? Overnight, prices exploded, factories stalled, and America's closest ally, Canada, hit back hard. This isn't just about politics anymore. It's a full-blown economic shockwave tearing through supply chains, jobs, and global markets. And now, the US and Canada are on the edge of a trade war that could reshape everything. So how did a 50% copper tariff meant to protect American industry spiral into an international standoff? It all started on July 10th, when President Trump announced a sweeping 50% tariff on all imported copper, effective August 1st. He justified it under national security laws, but markets weren't convinced. Chaos followed. Copper futures on the New York Mercantile Exchange jumped 13% in a single day, the biggest spike ever. Global copper prices surged past $12,300 per metric ton. Traders rushed to stockpile inventory before costs rose further. Warehouses in New Orleans saw deliveries soar 40% overnight. But the real pain hit American manufacturers. Each electric vehicle contains nearly 80 kilograms of copper. Since early July, copper prices have jumped by almost $1 per pound. That means an extra $180 in cost per vehicle, millions in monthly losses for automakers like Ford and Tesla. The energy sector isn't immune either. High-voltage transmission lines use 5 tons of copper per mile. With costs surging, clean energy projects are pausing or entering emergency review. Utilities are even weighing rate hikes just to stay afloat. In aerospace, every aircraft contains hundreds of kilometers of copper wiring. With prices spiking, defense and aviation budgets are under new pressure, risking project delays and contract renegotiations. But America isn't the only one hurting. Canada is feeling the shock too, and it's fighting back. 1/4 of US copper imports, over $9 billion, come from Canada. Companies like Teck Resources quickly redirected shipments to Asia, away from US buyers. They even switched pricing benchmarks from New York to Shanghai, cutting ties with American markets. Provincial governments in Quebec and British Columbia acted fast, waiving export permit fees, negotiating new contracts with Peru and Chile, and protecting mining jobs from mass layoffs. It's a national realignment in real time. And now, Canada is retaliating. Starting July 22nd, Canada rolled out tariffs on over 125 billion Canadian dollars worth of US goods, the largest trade counterstrike in its history. Exports to non-US markets surged by 25% in March, while shipments to the US dropped more than 6%. The shift is no longer a threat. It's happening. Even public sentiment is turning. Street polls in Montreal reveal rising calls to boycott American goods, a mood not seen since the metals war of 2018. Meanwhile, Canada's copper exports are now heading directly to Asia, skipping the US entirely. Ports in Vancouver and Prince Rupert are overloaded with outbound traffic across the Pacific, while US-bound terminals sit nearly idle. In Washington, the Congressional Budget Office quietly lowered US growth projections by 0.3%. Infrastructure firms are halting projects due to skyrocketing material costs. Copper is central to everything: transportation, power grids, consumer electronics, and now it's a major liability. Canada's economy is also feeling the pinch. The Bank of Canada is facing fresh inflation from supply chain shocks. A recent RBC report shows raw material inflation jumping over 5.6%, with copper trade friction named the top cause. Investors are pulling out of North American copper and shifting to Latin America, where production is steadier and geopolitics less volatile. So here's the big question: will the US and Canadian economies break under the pressure? Maybe not break, but they're bending fast. And unless both sides change course, this copper conflict could trigger a deeper rupture in the most important trade relationship in North America. Is this just a short-term trade flare-up, or the start of a long-term economic split between the US and Canada? Let us know what you think in the comments. And if you found this report helpful, like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss the next episode. From Rise Of, this is True State Report. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.